Multilingual Redditors, what is your they didn't realize I spoke their language story? I'm American, but can read and speak Russian on an intermediate level. A few years ago while visiting St. Petersburg, I was buying tickets for the hydrofoil to Peterhof. All the signs at the ticket booth were in Russian, and I could read the ticket prices. The ticket agent assumed I didn't know Russian, and tried to tell me the ticket cost 3 times more than the stated price. I looked her right in the eye and said in Russian, "I see on the board here that the ticket I want is X rubles." Her jaw dropped, and the ticket agent sitting next to her started laughing her ass off. People are such assholes. Good for you for speaking up. Redukthisi people said something like you need to be careful when talking shit about someone in your native language, there might always be someone who understands you in German while I was in Italy. A woman who was walking by responded like me for example. Edit, thank you so much for gold, kind stranger. That's quite funny of her. They're married now. We did it. I lived in South Korea for 3 years, but I never learned too much of the language. A friend of mine is 100% Korean but is very tall and was educated in America and New Zealand, so she has an American accent. Her co-teachers at her school all assumed she couldn't speak Korean, so they would talk shit about her constantly while she would listen on and feel terrible. She said nothing for a whole year until she had to speak at the end of year ceremony. The school offered her someone to translate but she refused, and in front of 800 or so students and faculty members she delivered her address in perfect Korean. She subtly called out the coworkers that had spent an entire year calling her a foreign pig. Apparently one started crying from the shame of it. I wish I had got to see that. I would pay money to see that. It could probably be the climax of an inspiring movie. My cousin is a big white guy who studied for 2 years in Japan during college. He worked for one of the head of Honda America for a few years. When the head guy learned that he spoke Japanese, he would make sure my cousin was in all the meetings and phone conferences with the Japanese branch. My cousin would listen to everything the Japanese would be saying to each other and report it to his boss during breaks. As such, the boss looked like a psychic to the Japanese because after break he would address their concerns without being prompted. The boss made mad bonuses every quarter and always funneled a bunch of that to my cousin. Edit, I have never seen click so not from that. This is based off my memory of him telling me this about 15 years ago, so don't know how precisely accurate it is. Did they figure it out? Not that I know of. He eventually left the auto industry, so not sure if word ever got around about him. Well, they'll know now. Honda execs are known to be active Redditors. Well, in that case, hi, and looking for a new job, guys. I was shopping with friends for clothes and these 2 ladies that worked at the store were outside of my fitting room speaking in Spanish. They kept criticizing me for taking so long to try on clothes and referred to me as dumb gringo and jokingly asked me if I needed any assistance, in English. They didn't realize I was Hispanic until I came out of the room and responded in Spanish that no, I didn't need their help. They got so red. Edit, somehow it's not clear to people that I responded no, I don't need your help rather than just no. Besides being incredibly rude, that's just sloppy on their part. Most Americans at least know what gringo means. My dad made me cringe so hard once at a hibachi place and the chef was Hispanic and he called him gringo thinking it was an affectionate friendly moniker among Hispanics. I wanted to just disappear lamau. Edit, did not expect this comment to blow up at all. You guys pushed me over 100,000 imaginary worthless karma points, but it's still nice to look at on the screen, so thanks. My Japanese father had worked in a kitchen in a Japanese restaurant with a full complement of Hispanic workers for decades. He ended up learning enough Spanish and they learned enough Japanese so they could communicate through some sort of rudimentary mashup of both languages. Unfortunately, it was kitchen speak, which is probably right alongside locker room talk in regards to public usability. I'd have to do the embarrassed kid shushing their parent a lot when we went out to eat. Haha, that's great. Just imagine a Japanese Gordon Ramsay yelling at you in Spanish. Oh, I love this one. So I was working at a dental clinic in Germany, and these 2 guys walk in and start speaking in Arabic, not knowing that both I and my supervisor can understand it. The first guy, actual patient, is nervously telling his friend and this would never work, and his friend is telling him to shut up and play along, so the supervisor and I try to figure out what kind of game they're trying to play. Apparently, they were trying to lie about the patient's age to get his dental treatment done for free. I don't know how that worked, I was just an intern, unlucky for him. His teeth told the truth. You can't fake being 16 when your wisdom teeth are all the way out, so me and my supervisor shut up about it, and I'm in actual pain trying to hold back from laughing as the friend is convincing the patient that we're idiots who don't speak Arabic and can't understand their trick. Of course, until I can't anymore and decide to discuss the case with my supervisor. Right there in front of them. In Arabic. I have never seen someone turn so many different colors so fast. Edit. Apparently all you people are weird and got wisdom teeth at weird ages. Asked my professors and they said at around 12 is the lowest they've seen, and even that is because of precocious puberty, from what they've seen. This is super interesting though, so if you have any Zrays, PM me what age you were when you took them and you can be my special case project of the year. Smile. The insurance pays the bill for minors, but not necessarily for adults. It depends on the work that's done, though. When I started working at McDonald's at 16, none of the other employees realized I could speak a fair amount of Spanish. A few of my coworkers would talk crap about me in Spanish and I pretended for a few weeks that I didn't know what they were saying. Then one day a manager told me she was worth more than me because she was bilingual. So I told her, in Spanish, that I was actually trilingual. The looks on their faces when they realized I spoke Spanish all along was priceless. What is your third language? My family and I went to Sri Lanka for 2 weeks to see where my mom grew up and general beach stuff. For some reason we were like the only people in the hotel we were staying at aside from a wedding party that left a day after we got there. A few days in there was another family staying there, I believe from Suriname, and we were all chilling at the pool and decided to play a game of water polo against each other. Things got exciting and one of the daughters yelled out something in Dutch like "Go for the big fat guy." My Dutch dad replied, "What big fat guy?" And everybody laughed. Just a simple story, but it was pretty sweet. The people at the Chinese food place on my campus spoke Chinese to the door exchange students. But even though I spoke Chinese, I just always spoke English to them since I have an accent when I speak Chinese. But one day I got all meat no rice since I had a rice maker at home. And when I was paying, the lady says to the person beside her, "Fat ass wants meat no rice." And I responded in Chinese, "Actually I have rice at home." They didn't charge me for the order and started giving me a bit extra whenever I go there. Edit. Didn't see all the replies, but everyone saying they probably weren't saying it in an insulting way is correct. They were saying fat ass, more along the lines of fatty, or tubby. Ponzi, I think that's the phonetic spelling of what they said. Not really sure how to spell it, tbh. Half my family is Chinese. Regardless, you mentioned an accent. My dad learned Mandarin by tape and line video. The rest of my family hate his Chinese accent because he apparently picked up the equivalent of a hillbilly accent online. Now I want to hear an Asian speak hillbilly English. Here you go. m.youtube.com. Came for the accent, stayed for the story. And what a story, that just charmed the pants right off of me. While I'm Spanish, I don't quite look like the stereotypical Spaniard, light skin color, blondish, green eyes. When I was living in London I got into several situations like that. The top one was on the tube back home. I think there was a football game, Chelsea, Barcelona, and this couple was going to the stadium and I was standing just besides them. Tube had a hard stop and I accidentally fell a bit over one of them. I apologized in English as I didn't realize they were Spaniards too. They started talking to each other saying this ducking fat cunt nearly smashed in the ground and things of the sort for almost 5 minutes. When they left the tube and he looked at me one last time laughing, I told him in perfect Spanish, "Enjoy the game, you little piece of shit." His face going pale as the doors were closing was enough satisfaction for a week. Edit. Jesus, my most upvoted comment ever. It's about being an angry Spaniard. Who would have thought? I have so many stories with tourists on the tube. In French it's usually guys making sexual comments. I usually let them know that London is the 4th largest French-speaking city in the world, over 1 mil, and that they should assume most people around them understand. In Russian, it's middle-aged women dissing my dress style, jeans and band tees. Great fun to compliment them on whatever designer clothing they're wearing in Russian. I've gotten very passive-aggressive with my responses. Aha.